Welcome to the Chapter 6 overview video, music of the Franco-Flemish composers from 1450 to 1520. Our learning objectives for this chapter are 1. To describe the music and the careers of some of the major composers active at the end of the 15th century and early 16th century. And 2. To describe the new trends in musical style from 1450 to 1520 that are distinctive from the previous generation. On our listening list, we have Du Failly, C'est la fée c'est Pelle. We have Jean de Ockeghem, Missa Prolationum Mass Kyrie movement. We have Josquin de Prez's Mille Regrets. And we have Josquin Ave Maria, Virgo Serena Motet. And we have Carlo Gesualdo Io Parto. E non più dici, which is a madrigal. Most prominent composers between 1450 and 1520 came from France, Flanders, or the Netherlands. Jean de Ockeghem from 1420 to 1497, and Antoine Biznois from 1430 to 1492 were the best-known musicians of their generation. Ockeghem was a singer, composer, and teacher. Born in northeastern France, he worked at the French royal court for over 40 years. In his 13 masses, Ockeghem used wider vocal ranges than Du Failly's generation, giving a fuller and darker sound. Both composers varied their textures, setting some passages for only 2 or 3 voices. For their cantus firmus masses, Ockeghem and Biznois freely changed cantus firmus material, modifying rhythms and adding notes to give the tenor a character much closer to the other voices. Ockeghem's creativity and compositional virtuosity are evident in his Missa Cuiusvis Toni, Mass in any mode, which can be sung in 4 different modes, and Missa Prolationum, which is notated in 2 voices but sung in 4, using the 4 prolations of mensural notation. Composers used canon to show off their ingenuity and skill and employed such techniques as inversion and retrograde. Missa Prolationum is a mensuration canon in which the voices simultaneously sing from the same part but use differing durations as indicated by the mensuration signs. The chansons of Ockeghem and Antoine Biznois combine features from Du Failly's generation with new features, including more use of imitation, greater equality among the voices, larger phrases, and more use of duple meter. Many chansons by Ockeghem and Biznois were popular and were reworked into instrumental works and cantus firmus masses by numerous other composers. Most made use of the traditional form fix of courtly poetry. Jacob Obrecht, Heinricus Isaac, and Josquin de Prez were the 3 most eminent composers of the generation after Ockeghem. Composers active from around 1480 to 1520 shared common elements of style that gave them greater flexibility and allowed them to communicate with a wide audience. The text determined the form. All parts were nearly equal in style and importance. Full triads prevailed, and phrases were clearly articulated. Obrecht composed masses, motets, chansons, songs in Dutch, and instrumental pieces. Composers from 1480 to 1520 used imitation more extensively than earlier composers, often beginning a section or phrase with a point of imitation or a series of imitative entrances. The music was characterized by clear tonal centers and cadences, smooth counterpoint, and phrases that begin in regular rhythms and then accelerate. Isaac worked for the most important patrons of the time, was familiar with regional music styles, and composed sacred and secular music. He was influenced by Italian homophonic songs and adapted the same style for some of his German songs or lieder. Homophonic texture, alternating with imitative texture, is an important element of 16th century polyphonic music. Obrecht, Isaac, and other composers of their generation were concerned with fitting music to words and making sure the text could be understood. So they used primarily syllabic settings and specified the alignment of words and music exactly. The Odd-Hecaton, the first printed anthology of chansons, is dominated by compositions from Burgundian composers. More than half are for three voices and written in the older styles, but many reveal the newer and fuller four-voice texture. Josquin des Prez was considered to be the greatest composer of his time, and his works were recopied and performed well after his death. He was probably born and trained in northern France, but he spent much of his career in Italy, serving in Milan and in the Sistine Chapel in Rome. Like Obrecht and Isaac, Josquin abandoned the form fixe and composed chansons characterized by clarity in phrasing, form, and tonal organization, fluid melodies, contrast between imitative counterpoint and homophony, and careful text declamation. Josquin wrote more than 50 motets, which exemplify the traits of the late 15th century style. Josquin was renowned for reflecting the meaning of words in his music through text depiction, which is using musical gestures to suggest images in the text, and text expression, conveying the emotions of the text through music. Before the late 15th century, there was no consistent method for suggesting emotions through music. The link we now take for granted between music and feelings may have been a contribution by Josquin and his generation. Josquin's masses are varied in approach and abound in technical ingenuity. Most are cantus firmus masses based on secular tunes. One of Josquin's masses is an imitation mass, in which the composer borrows extensively from all voices of a polyphonic model and reworks them to create something new in each movement of the mass. Josquin's Missa Panga Lingua is a paraphrase mass, in which a borrowed monophonic melody is paraphrased in all four voices in each movement. Imitation mass and paraphrase mass differ in source material, not in style. Okay, things I would know for my 25-point chapter quiz. Know where the musical renaissance began. Know the important composers after Dufay. Know about Ockeghem. Know what a canon is. Know about chansons of Ockeghem and Besnoise. Know about anthologies of printed music. See page 116. Know about Josquin and his chansons, how they differ from Ockeghem's. Know about Mille Regrets by Josquin. See page 116. Know the importance of the text to the music for these composers. Know the little vignette about the Duke of Ferrara on page 120. Know what a paraphrase mass is. Know about imitation, also on 117 and 120. Know about movable type, see 118. Know about the publishers. Know the effects of printed music on life of musicians. Know about the parody technique on masses. Know the works of Ockeghem and Josquin. Know what was said about them. Know the different styles of masses that they wrote. Know the difference between Ockeghem and Besnoise. Know about Heinrichus Isaac, C115. And know about the Odd-Hecaton. That will help you do well on this quiz. On the listening list, We have Josquin's Mille Regrets, Josquin's Ave Maria, and Carl Gesualdo's Io Parto. There will be a listening quiz on the Ockeghem, the 2 Josquin examples, and there is no quiz on the Gesualdo